We want to love ourselves freely, unfettered images of our grandmothers in our dreams. We need freedom, not just the Bill of Rights, but rights to build our own lives, to be free from the destituteness and hatred of hungry children. Ross Baraka, the mayor of Newark. And I can't believe someone actually said that crap out loud.
Atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where on behalf of the world's husbands and sons, we express our gratitude to the motherly class for putting up with us so admirably for so long. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radio. So good of you to join us this evening. Here is your golden age of Western civilization news roundup for the week ending 9 May 2025. Dateline Washington, Monday, 5 May. Pro-migration groups reacted with shock and outrage this week to President Donald Trump's plan to offer a $1,000 stipend and a free plane ticket to any illegal alien willing to self-deport in an orderly fashion. And they kind of give the whole game away there, don't they? Almost like this is going to take massive amounts of money out of their coffers, almost like they have a clear profit motive for trying to prevent the removal or even the voluntary self-removal of persons who are in the country unlawfully. In fact, if I didn't know better, I might suspect the only reason for these organizations existing in the first place is to enable and facilitate industrialized criminal activity. I might suspect these so-called migrant advocacy groups of being thinly veiled money laundering machines and human smuggling syndicates whose leaders have grown rich beyond the dreams of avarice on your tax dollars, of course, in partnership with the Democrat Party on a project that was conceived to be mutually beneficial to both parties. For the migrant NGOs, the more illegal aliens there are to move around the country and provide free services to, well, the more money they require for their operations. For the Democrats, the cause of remaking the demographics of the country by brute force social engineering, and thus rigging all future elections in their own favor, is advanced. And the reality of all this is beyond any reasonable doubt at this point, because we watched it happen from the very first moment that the corpse of Joe Biden was sworn in as president. Oh, he said he was all about border security. His DHS secretary, the enemy saboteur Mayorkas, who is an accessory in the deaths of around 500,000 Americans, went before Congress around a dozen times and swore under oath that he was engaged in a good faith effort to enforce our border security laws, which is weird, because when their administration came in, the border wall had been fully funded, the material was already procured and stacked on site, and the first thing Biden did on his first day, well, he stopped building the wall that was fully funded and already in progress, and for the next 4 years, as something on the order of 15 million unknown individuals poured through the breaches in that wall that they created and then left unguarded, these same men told us, gosh, we are just doing our level best here to make that border secure, but it's just logistically impossible. We just can't do it without further acts of Congress. And how long did it take Donald Trump to fully secure the border without any such act of Congress? With the same budget that Biden and Mayorkas had, it took less than 30 days. And one more note on the enemy saboteur Mayorkas. That guy did not receive any pardon. The Republicans currently control the Congress. And there are a lot of us out here who now have grave sites instead of children, who would very much like to know when that evil, black-hearted monster is going to be hauled before the Homeland Security Committee or the Oversight Committee or Christ, any damn committee, I don't care which one it is, to answer for his crimes. And if that never happens, then best of luck trying to rely on our votes in the midterms next year. Dateline Washington, Tuesday, 6 May. In a piece of very welcome news that arrives many decades overdue, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced this week his intention to get rid of 20% of the 4-star generals in the armed forces, which this reporter would submit is just a pretty good start. And why is it just a good start? Well, because up until the end of the Second World War, it was commonly understood and disputed by not really anyone that 4-star general ranks only need to exist in wartime and only need to be held by men who are commanding armies in the field. So up until the end of the Second War, or more precisely, up until the passage of the National Security Act of 1947, the highest rank you could theoretically hold in the peacetime U.S. Armed Forces was a 3-star, a lieutenant general, or a vice admiral, and as a practical matter, there were vanishingly few of those. If you spent your whole career in the peacetime Army or Navy, a 2-star rank was as high as you could reasonably hope to ascend. How many 4-star generals and admirals did we have at the end of the Second World War? We had 8. And additionally, we created a 5-star rank to which we elevated a further 9 men, which was only a function of the fact that we were running combined operations with the forces of the British Empire, so we needed a rank that was equivalent to field marshal so that we didn't have American commanders who were outranked by their British subordinates. The point being, we won the biggest war in world history with the biggest operational military force in world history with a grand total of 17 men of 4-star rank or above. And how many do we have today? We have 44. How many of those have ever commanded an army or an army group in the field? That would be 0. And take a look at a picture of any of our top WW2 commanders like Generals Eisenhower or MacArthur when they were Supreme Allied Commander in Europe and the Pacific respectively, and look at the size of their ribbon racks. You'll see maybe 7 or 8 ribbons, all of them for decorations earned in combat, and compare that to the chest full of participation ribbons that a political buffoon like General Mark Milley walks around with in the present day. A man who spent a grand total of 48 hours in combat 35 years ago. Participation ribbons, they are bad enough in the civilian world, and we don't need them in the military. Should you get an award and a ribbon for doing a job for a couple of years without getting fired? No, you shouldn't. So let's start with 20%, and then let's keep going. And if you were unclear about why the media Democrat complex is so desperate to take the scalp of Secretary Hegseth, well, stuff like this has a lot to do with it. Nothing infuriates a political career desk general more than having to work for a former captain, especially when it's a former captain who is likely to eliminate your cushy, low-pressure office job. So there is not any shortage of these guys who are willing to engage in anonymous smears against the new SecDef in the hopes that they can help force his ouster and thus save their fake jobs. It's a tale as old as time, really. Massive expansions of the administrative state and the managerial class isn't just something that happens in the civilian world, but there is just as urgent a need to put a stop to it once and for all. Dateline London, Wednesday, 7 May. The Labour Party government of Sir Keir and the Stormtroopers demonstrated once again this week that they are really good at organizing their national priorities. Now, if I asked you what the most pressing threat to the immediate safety of the British people is, a reasonable person might say something like, I don't know, your kid's getting stabbed to death at a birthday party by a Rwandan migrant? But you would be wrong. And also, you are a filthy xenophobic racist, and you might get yourself arrested for suspicion of having had that thought in your head. No, damn it. The most pressing danger to the British people is a Russian nuclear attack? Well, yes, that is in fact the stated position of Sir Keir and the Stormtroopers, who announced this week that for the first time since the end of the Cold War, they will revive and update a document called the Government War Book, which was created in the aftermath of the Second World War as a theoretical action plan for how best to respond to a Soviet strategic nuclear attack upon the British Isles. Now, why would Russia in the third decade of the 21st century have the slightest desire or inclination to launch a nuclear attack on such an insignificant former power as the United Kingdom? Unclear. But don't tell that to Sir Keir and the Stormtroopers, because they say this is very, very serious business indeed. And if your reasonable suspicion is to say, gosh, it sounds like they want people to be irrationally afraid of an external threat, so they spend less time thinking about how disastrously incompetent our government is on matters of everyday domestic policy. And if you're thinking that, well, you're probably not wrong, because it does seem a hell of a lot like that. Starting a war or raising the specter of a war to distract public attention from your own bad governance. Well, it's one of the oldest tricks in the political book, really. Hell, Napoleon did it more than once. Saddam Hussein did it when he went to war with the Iranians in '79. The Argentines did it as recently as 1982. So look, ma'am, I'm sorry your daughter got gang raped by Pakistanis, but I'm afraid our officers are all quite busy chasing down racially insensitive social media posts at the moment. And besides, those Russian missiles, they might rain down at any moment. So would you please stop being so selfish and get your bloody priorities straight? And whatever you do not stand on the sidewalk and silently pray for deliverance from the nuclear Armageddon, because that's a public disorder offense. And we will have to pull an officer off of the racially insensitive social media beat to take you into custody on suspicion of thinking unfashionable religious thoughts. And nobody wants that. Dateline Boise and Salt Lake City, Thursday, 8 May. On this week's episode of Yes, We Do Have a State Religion, and our state religion is gay. The capital cities of Utah and Idaho, of all places, passed local ordinances this week conferring official city flag status on the various Skittle Vomit Rainbow Gay Pride banners whose display on public property and at government facilities was recently banned by the legislatures of those respective states. And if there is an overarching moral to this story right at the top, it's that even if you live in the reddest of red states, your big cities are almost invariably being run by left-wing wackos whose idea of effective civic governance is making everything just as gay as possible by any means at their disposal. Oh, you thought a city government's job was making sure the trash gets collected and the buses run on schedule? Well, think again, bigot. A city government's job is passing pro-Hamas resolutions about how terrible Israel is and making sure you can't go anywhere without having celebrations of non-normative sexuality constantly shoved into your face whether you like it or not. And it's really quite remarkable that the incongruity of juxtaposing those two things together as your top priorities seems to still be utterly escaping these raving fanatics, because Islamic radicalism and militant homosexuality are just about the strangest bedfellows that can be imagined. Wearing a keffiyeh while waving a Skittle Vomit Rainbow flag, that makes about as much sense as announcing that Jose Cuervo is your AA sponsor. It might even make less sense than that, come to think of it. If you want to tell the world you're totally clueless about everything without having to actually say any words, that's a pretty damn good way of doing it. But it's not just one Skittle Vomit flag that's having official status conferred on it. At least not in Salt Lake City, by God. They have adopted the Progress Pride flag, the Transgender Pride flag, and the Juneteenth flag as official banners of the city. Now, what is the difference between a Progress Pride flag and a Transgender Pride flag? I have no idea. I just know one is as ugly as the other because these people only ever celebrate ugly things. What is a Juneteenth flag? Beats the hell out of me. All I know is I remember a time not all that long ago when Salt Lake City was so Mormon. You would be sure to get dirty looks in the grocery store if you had a 2-liter of Coca-Cola in your cart. You could be damn sure your bishop was going to hear about that transgression. And now, Salt Lake City has 2 official banners that celebrate acts that, to the best of my knowledge, the LDS Church still regards as mortal sins. And are we supposed to call this progress? Are we supposed to call it enlightenment? Because aren't we just swapping out one unofficial state religion for another unofficial state religion? Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall issued the following laughably dishonest statement on the passage of the various flag ordinances. Quote, "My sincere intent is not to provoke or cause division. My intent is to represent our city's values and honor our dear diverse residents who make up this beautiful city and the legacy of pain and progress that they have endured." End quote. And we hear a lot, the word values a lot from these people who seek to make the whole world gay. What do we never hear? Well, we never hear any attempt at explaining what those values actually are. What common community values exactly are advanced by forcing people to stare at a revoltingly ugly symbol of something they want no part of and don't wish to celebrate? And who knows, maybe one day we might have a functioning press again, and some intrepid journalist will get the wild idea of asking that screamingly obvious question. In any event, I think we can be assured that Joseph Smith and Brigham Young are turning cartwheels and back handsprings in their collective graves, respective graves, as we speak. Dateline San Francisco, Friday, 9 May. Tens of thousands of Bay Area commuters were left stranded Friday morning when BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit System, up and stopped working right before dawn. Apparently because the software and infrastructure that runs the whole thing realized it is 52 years old. Yes, you heard right. They are still running these trains on the original software from 1972. Was software even a word yet in 1972? I don't think it was. And this is such a strange development because when Biden and the Democrats passed their big infrastructure bill, quote unquote, a couple of years ago, wasn't it supposed to fix things just like this? Didn't Joe stand up at the podium and mumble unintelligibly about how all of our dangerously outdated stuff was going to get repaired and upgraded and modernized, and how great it was all going to be? Jim Eagle, I need you to do a quick check for me. How many pieces of infrastructure have actually been built or improved or renovated under the Biden infrastructure bill? I'll wait right here. I mean, I'm sure it's an exceedingly long list, and it will be easy to find something. Oh, it's not? It's a short list then? Oh, there's nothing on it. There's 0 things. All right, then. I mean, they give the bill a wildly misleading name just to obscure the fact that it was really a grab bag of free cash for corrupt left-wing NGOs? What a surprise this is. That's certainly never happened before. I mean, except with every single other spending bill that got passed while Biden was in office. Like, you remember how they spent $8 billion to build a nationwide network of electric car chargers? And they built a total of 8? Hey, at least they actually built something in that case, and only $1 billion a piece. It's better than they usually do. I mean, hell, they gave Stacey Abrams $2 billion to provide magic energy efficient refrigerators to residents throughout rural Georgia. And nobody has ever seen a single one of the refrigerators, but the money all damn well got spent. The train service wound up not being restored in San Francisco until 9:30 a.m., by which time most commuters had been reduced to biking or walking to work or just going home altogether, as the local bus service quickly became inundated and overwhelmed, and they had to shut that down too. And what's the moral of the story? Well, we can always depend on our progressive friends to boldly lead the way forward from the 20th century to the 19th. And that's the end of the roundup for this week. So it is that time again when I toss it over to my distinguished colleague, your illustrious co-host, a man who has made it his life's work to scour the whole state of Georgia in search of one of those Stacey Abrams refrigerators, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
The buttons are not working properly. Damn it. All right, so we're doing pretty good today. I don't know if you've noticed, but everything's working perfectly smoothly. We've got it completely planned out. Everything is absolutely solid. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing. Listen, welcome to the Blast Radius, ladies and gentlemen. We have some absolute madness because the Onion has been writing reality, and I don't know why they let them do that. I showed you some of the stuff we've got lined up over here, right? Let's see. Let's run back through it again real quick. We got Baraka.
Ross Baraka, the mayor with the pro wrestler name.
Right. We got some.
I'm coming for you at SummerSlam.
we got the hard R chick that got $1 million for saying hard R to people, which I find absolutely ticklish. That just trips me out to no end. We've got the Pierce Morgan meltdown on that particular thing,
which is pretty delicious if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of that. I'm going to kind of jump around in it because I'm going to try to prevent you from catching any kind of copyright anything, but we'll see how that works. The last
freaking
bit
hot. I'm working up a lather over here.
I hear you, baby. You've got a new song out. We're going to check it out at the end of the episode and go with chat.
Blue Unicorn's here. Scotty Waddles is here. Kissy May is here. Who else is here?
Roll it back. Queen Bird, welcome to the show. Good to see you, girl.
Hey, Queen. Good to see you.
We got those three talking a whole bunch. I don't see anybody else talking. There's other people here, but I don't see them talking. But okay, lurkers are welcome, I suppose. They're just as good.
Lurkers are welcome, but we like you more if you comment.
That is true. That way we can lather you up real good. So check this out. All right, I want to make an observation right out the rip. You can go to YouTube and find every single one of these videos that's available on AP without all the blurry imagery. So,
and we should probably quickly set the scene in case anybody doesn't know what we're watching. Yesterday, the idiot mayor of Newark and 2 idiot Democrat members of Congress decided to show up at an ICE detention facility in, I don't know if it's actually in Newark or in suburban Newark, but it doesn't matter. And the reason they went there was to try and get arrested. How do we know that? Because if they would have just called up the ICE office and asked for a tour, they would have been given a tour. Instead, they just showed up and started raising hell and screaming at people and running into things. And at one point, the 2 Democrat members of Congress, after Mayor Baraka had already been arrested and detained, did some kind of weird Fort Apache thing and went and occupied a guard shack and said they weren't going to leave until they got a tour. And finally, the ICE guys were like, well, we just want our guard shack back. So if we walk you through the place, will you freaking leave? And that's what wound up actually happening. But I think they did instigate some further physical violence during the time when they were receiving their tour. And if there is a moral to this story, the moral is the only constituents these people care about are the wife-beating, human-smuggling, illegal alien gang members. That's the message they've been trying to send for several months now, ever since Trump took office, and I think they're doing a delightful job of sending it.
Yeah, I'm down. I figure let them run with their message. It'll just prove everything. Everything.
Absolutely.
On Friday. All right, this is the last time. I'm not canceling. This is the last one. Congress is different. Congresswomen are different. Mr. Mayor, anyone that is not a congresswoman it's the last one. You will be placed on the list. Go, please. Be at a gate. Back up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
They're saying that because he was on this side, that they're
Where's my congresswoman? Where's my congresswoman?
All right, I got questions. So many questions. did homie plan this and like notify the press to be there and stuff, or did he load up
Guarantee
a
he
bus
did.
full of press and like
Yeah,
ride over there with
this is by every definition a publicity stunt.
right
Because
right.
they have lost all the arguments. The voters have soundly rejected their position on this issue. They know they can't win on the playing field of ideas, so they have really nothing left except performative histrionics, and they have dialed up the crazy knob so far that the only kind of performative histrionics they have left are attempting to get arrested. And that's what this was. This was 3 or 4 people trying to get arrested so that they could go viral and use it for fundraising. And we know how politics works. Everything is about getting viral clips you can use for fundraising, and that's what we're witnessing.
Okay, so here's my question. Is there any chance that this could be viewed as a form of insurrection by actual Congress people?
Yes, if we actually care about the meaning of that word, it absolutely could.
Well, that's an interesting angle because, yeah, let's just think on that for a minute. I'll kind of need some little light, frilly music to throw in here. So like, do, 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 you know. So we sit around thinking.
And we may want to recall also, as long as we are juxtaposing things with other things, there were a lot of political prisoners taken at the Capitol on January 6th, including some political prisoners who weren't even within 100 miles of the Capitol on January 6th, and they got arrested and imprisoned anyway for something called seditious conspiracy. And during the time that they were being incarcerated, many Republican members of Congress attempted to go to the detention facility, much like these people, and see how the prisoners were doing, the prisoners in that case happened to have been American citizens who were arrested on impossibly flimsy charges, but these same Democrats mocked them for it and tried to make it impossible for them to do it. But when they want to show up and check on their favorite people in the world, which is, wife-beating, drug-dealing, human-smuggling MS-13 gang members, then they are on a mission from God, and they have the moral high ground, and nobody is allowed to say anything. And isn't that fun?
You reckon they've ever seen morality or high ground?
I think most of the terms they use, they couldn't define if they tried.
Right.
Especially,
I figure they probably saw a little bit of high ground when they were flying out of DC, and maybe a little bit of morality when they were looking out the window down on the flyover states.
And Mayor Baraka even makes up his own words, like destituteness. First time I ever heard that word. Maybe he's just more educated than I am, and that really is a word, and I'm just not aware of it.
You made me say that out loud, dude. I'll never.
Destituteness. When people make screw ups like that, they betray a lot about themselves. Number one, that dude has probably never read a book in his entire life. If he was in the habit of reading books, he might know that the word is destitution and not destituteness, because that's not a word, and you just made a fool of yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so we are officially resisting arrest now. At least resisting detention, if nothing else. Have they asked him for his ID? All right. What is that? What is that I saw? Hold on. Was that assault? I'll watch the red tape.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that large busted woman throw an elbow.
Push, another elbow.
Look at that.
Assaults of an officer? Oh, no.
That was a back elbow and then a forearm shiver, if we're using wrestling terms.
There you go. I just got to say, man, taser.
Yes. Taser, bro. Taser right now.
Oops. I ruin everything sometimes.
There's
Stop
a
that.
place.
I said stop it. You don't get to do that in my show. I'm better than that. Get that out of here. So
Yeah, unless I earn revenue on that guy's ads.
right, I don't want no part of it. So we had a mayor and 3 congresspeople.
I will pull up the congressmen's names for you right here momentarily.
Super, that would be great. And yeah, no, it's all performative. It has to be. They went up there specifically to try to get arrested doing something that they felt would virtue signal above and beyond the orange man bad trope. And I saw one of the greatest freaking takes on this, and I can't remember which news rag it was that said it, but they presented this as Trump's ICE patrol were shaking down the dissidents against Trump. They were coming for his political opposition, and that's the whole purpose of all of this. It wasn't that they showed up uninvited at a facility with no right to be there and demanded entry. In fact, entered after the demand wasn't met. They just walked in, as I understand it. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Yeah, they were doing a First Amendment audit.
So the big fat woman who we just saw throwing forearm shivers and back elbows, her name is LaMonica McIver, Democrat of New Jersey. And she said today on CNN that she did not body slam anyone, and if someone produces footage to that effect, it is doctored AI false footage, damn it. So which presumably she's referring to the footage we just saw.
Please go AI us up some footage of her body slamming ICE agents. That would be awesome.
So
great.
The hostess, Dana Bash, here's the question that she gets posed to her. I want to go back to some of the footage we were looking at, and I want our viewers to see that you are the woman in the red blazer. As we show them, DHS says that obviously that there was chaos, that maybe you were trespassing. You can talk about that, but DHS also says, in their words, you were body slamming an ICE officer. Is that what we're looking at? Is that what happened? And here is LaMonica's response, quote, absolutely no. I mean, I honestly do not know how to body slam anyone. There's no video that supports me body slamming anyone. We, as Congressman Bonnie Watson Coleman said, we were simply there to do our job. There for an oversight visit. What you watch when you're watching in the video, and we don't have all of the body cam, and we hope that all of the body cam is released. It was a very tense situation. It unfortunately did not have to be like that. They created the confrontation. They created that chaos and then ultimately went to arrest the mayor of the largest city in New Jersey, who is my mayor and my constituent, and it was very difficult to watch that happen, but absolutely, I did not body slam anyone, end quote. How many times, I'm glad I started making wrestling references, because how many times have you heard a sitting member of Congress deny body slamming someone that many times?
Right? I mean, you generally don't have to deny it. Because
you know, there's usually not a lot of body slams involved in being in Congress, but you know, who knows? We get closer to idiocracy every day, so maybe that's just the world we need to get used to.
Apparently, that is the case. I mean, like I said, it's like the Onion has started writing our freaking reality. Don't get it.
Oh, I know. The world has been rendered parody proof in many ways.
Yeah, no, I mean it's so parody proof. Can't even discuss it really.
And I've got the quote from what's her name, Bonnie Watson Coleman, also Democrat, also New Jersey. Here is her quote. Yeah, how ridiculous does that sound about the body slamming? There are 200-pound guys. They've got about 35 pounds worth of stuff around them, including a gun on their arms. I can tell you what I think about what they're saying. The President of the United States opens his mouth every day and lies. He can't breathe without lying. He's given permission to his cabinet and those who work for him to lie, and she's lying too. So, the Democrat Party motto, don't believe your lying eyes. If you see a thing that looks bad for us, it's just not true. So go ahead and ignore it. And also, if you're in the middle of an answer and you don't like how it's going for you, just pivot to saying bad things about Trump.
Basically. I mean, that's what for now for 8 years, almost 10
And then-
years. That's the point.
And then Frederica Whitfield, the CNN host, says, quote, "The DHS spokesperson I mentioned who was on the air earlier is saying that the videotape, the body cam video that would be released later, would show the violent nature of the mayor and others body slamming." And Watson Coleman replies, "No, if there's any such kind of footage like that, it is footage that is manufactured for this purpose. Because I said before, and I'll say it again, they are lying." End quote. So even though I'm on video doing the bad thing from multiple angles and multiple sources, it's just not true. Don't believe your lying eyes. It must be, it's the world's biggest AI fake video conspiracy that managed to get cooked up in under 24 hours. It was really brilliant. What an effort.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I mean, really. All right, so we have another bit of madness that took place. This is going to take a little bit longer to get through because I haven't actually watched the interview. I just went and plugged it out. This happened. Now, how much of this did you watch?
I've seen all of it.
Okay, so you want to set the scene on this. This chick is the in question.
The blonde woman who is fourth from the left is I've never heard of her before, but apparently she's some kind of openly racist podcaster. I mean, she can't be a YouTuber, I wouldn't think, because YouTube probably wouldn't let her say things like that, but she is unapologetic about freely and openly using the unspeakable word that nobody is allowed to use unless they're black, and we all know what word that is. And I think this whole panel really was designed, I think, for Piers Morgan to try and get her to say the word on the air so that these two black guys could just convulse in terror and anger. And you want to talk about performative outrage? We're about to see some heaping helpings of it right here.
So, like, this first bit is her response to a question.
Why are nobody does? Why are Jewish people allowed to be tribal? Why are black people allowed to be tribal? But as soon as white people stand up for themselves, we're labeled a racist. And by the way, you call people racist when you want them to stop talking about things.
No, I called you a racist because you admitted you were racist. Hang on. I called, just to be clear, I called you a racist because you openly, proudly admitted you're a racist. So it wasn't a question of exposing you or pointing my finger or trying to get this out of you. You proudly sat there, bold as brass, and said, yeah, I use the N-word all the time against black people. I'm a racist and I'm proud of it. That's what you did.
Racism is just having a preference. I prefer not to live around black people. I prefer not to live in a country where white people in our country are disproportionately attacked by black people. Where in my country, you can have an Austin Metcalf where he asks a guy to leave and he gets stabbed in the heart. I prefer that. That's a preference. Now, what a real racist is, in my opinion, is seeing someone as less human. I'm a Christian. I believe everyone's created in God's image. So I don't see anyone as less human. But that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to have a preference and say, I don't like what happens to be coming out of this community or that community. How is that a bad thing? How is that not just a preference?
Because you've literally made black people sound lesser humans. You don't want to live around them.
You wouldn't happen to be willing to read some stuff directly into a statement that was never actually said, would you, Piers? Not you. Say it ain't so.
Yeah, and he didn't even address the substance of what she had just said, which I don't have any problem with. People should be allowed to have preferences, including racial preferences. People of other races are allowed to have racial affinities and not be called race. It's only one racial group that is not allowed to express any sort of in-group affinity, and that's outrageous and wrong, and we should be able to say it's outrageous and wrong.
Yeah, I mean, freedom of speech comes with consequences. You have a freedom of speech and a freedom to, accept those consequences.
Yes, freedom of speech doesn't only apply to fashionable things that we like.
In fact, the only reason you need to protect speech is for unpopular speech.
Exactly right. That is why free speech protections exist. It is for the people with the worst, most outrageous, most abhorrent, most indefensible views. If you're not willing to stand up for that guy's right to speak his mind in the way he sees fit, then do not call yourself a free speech believer, because you are not one.
Amen, brother.
You want to use the M word in relation to them, a word that you know causes that community unbelievable offense?
My fault? Is that my fault? If they have bad behavior, if they want to act in a certain way, if I have to cross the street and be afraid that maybe because of the crime statistics that are very real, by the way, is that my fault, or is that their fault for having bad behavior?
It's mind.
You want a piece of that one?
Oh, look at how big his eyes are already. He cannot believe that he is hearing this white lady say these words, and she hasn't even said anything objectionable yet, and he's already quaking with rage.
Hold on, look at this lineup. She looks like she wished she had the balls to do that. She looks like, I hope you have the balls to deal with my $1 million lawyer that I got. This guy just realized the pendulum has turned. This cat over here is wondering why he's even here at all. He thought he had a grip on this conversation, and it just ran away from him. And I don't know what I was going through.
Mark Lamont Hill, the guy in the middle, he is just planning his performative tantrum at this point, and it's coming soon.
Don't most people put a diploma behind them? He has a thing for his fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi.
Oh, and he's got a YouTube button plaque back there too. He's very proud of his YouTube views.
Is that what that is? Okay.
I think that's what that is. I'm pretty sure.
So
yeah, it's really I think a fascinating window into people's souls who podcast and broadcast from their own homes with, you know, their various professional accoutrements behind them, or whatever they choose to put back there that is the window into their mind that they want the world to see. Like Tony Fauci, for example, had an entire shelf of Tony Fauci prayer candles behind him when he used to do his interviews during the pandemic, which, you know, very subtle, very modest, very, very self-effacing man, that Tony Fauci. And he had the prayer candles right next to his copies of his memoir, which was, yeah, great look, Tony. Outstanding look. Also, Jim Acosta, disgraced former CNN fake news performance artist, his podcast backdrop, because he's reduced to being a Substack guy now and interviewing, you know, the worst kind of interview subjects you could possibly get. People like Sean Penn, Neil Young, just washed up idiot celebrities. He's got like a George Washington picture and an Abraham Lincoln picture behind him, you know, because Jim Acosta is a true blue American, damn it, big old patriot. That's the message he wants to send. And he wears smart guy glasses now, so I guess we're supposed to have a more expansive view of his intellect now that he's been fired from CNN, which, if you can be fired from CNN, that takes some doing.
Apparently it does take a bit of doing, because yeah, there's still people who, I mean, I don't want to get into that. There's lawsuits involved. Listen to this. Wait, I muted it because I'm a moron. I just wanted to look at the faces for a second. Let's try that again.
Or is that their fault for having bad behavior?
That's mind-boggling to me for multiple reasons. I mean, we're talking about bad behavior. You know, we've never lynched you. We've never enslaved you. We've never done any of.
We've never lynched you.
I've never lynched anyone in my life.
I and to the best of my knowledge, I've never lynched anyone either.
Do you know anyone who has lynched someone by chance?
I don't think anyone has been lynched in this country during either of our lifetimes or the lifetimes of our parents. And yet, a guy can say a thing like that and have it go unchallenged, as if this blonde lady saying these things is somehow tantamount to lynching this man's ancestors. You know, God, the amount of blood libel that goes on from these race hucksters is just completely astounding sometimes.
It's amazing, man. Like, they take the least little controversy and make it immediately about their ancestors. This isn't a case of ancestor worship. I don't know what it is. I mean, because none of the people you're trying to get down on because of all of this were alive when any of this took place. And the people who are trying to get down on you for it were also not alive. So this is not a defense. This is a non-defense. This is simply saying something that is controversial to try to shake up the panel to make it get digress anywhere else.
Yes, and if you're talking to a random white person in America, there is just as big a chance, if not a bigger one, that their ancestors first arrived in this country during the second half of the 19th century, long after any of that stuff was a thing anymore. So, but the blood libel somehow still applies. Oh, you used to lynch us, goddammit.
Well, you know,
so
God
therefore,
go ahead.
Therefore, I win the argument.
Yeah,
and then,
God,
that's
the sins of the father on the son in what, 3 generations?
And yes, and this idiotic mental midget, Mark Lamont Hill, that is blood libel against white people is like his entire shtick, because he goes, you see how quickly he goes right to it, because he doesn't want to try and make an actual argument. He doesn't want to try and explicate why she's actually wrong, because he's not smart enough to do that. So he just opens up the race huckster hymnal and starts singing from the first page he gets to.
So between me and you, can we both agree that at least on its surface, she's wrong? I think she is.
No, she's not wrong about the first thing. She's wrong about things she says after that. I don't think she was wrong about the first thing she said, just about in-group affinity.
I'm talking about what the actual event that brought her to this position, right?
Yeah.
If I have to, I'll go dig up the original video, but she was being abrasive and obnoxious. And while that's not illegal, it's not right.
And I also think she is just as guilty as of being performative as the other people are, because there's no valid intellectual reason why you need to hurl racial slurs at anybody. Just make your argument. If you're hurling racial slurs, it's just because you want to offend and outrage and get more attention on yourself.
But it is for reaction and reaction only. I don't see any other purpose to do it.
Yep, because it's the quickest way to get internet famous. Well, aside from cutting your balls off.
Or, that White House fiasco that happened with Clinton that may or may not. I did not have sexual relations with that.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. And I'll wave my finger at you and tell it to you again. Well, it depends on what the definition of is. And it has to be said, even though he gets mocked for that so much, he was not making an invalid point when he said that, because the question he was asked very inartfully, because he was asked, is there a sexual relationship between you and Miss Lewinsky? And he quite reasonably replied, well, is means right now, so no. You didn't ask me if there used to be. So be more precise with your questions if you don't want answers like that, is the moral of that story.
Right. The more generic you are in your attack, the more generic your responses are going to end up being. And in this case, I am utterly flummoxed how this woman has fang-schwangled a hard R slur into $1 million freaking GoFundMe. But I say, hell, it's America. More power to you, girl.
Oh, that's a different woman. That's the Minnesota woman. That's, God, what's her name? Just keep playing the video. I'll pull it up.
Hold up. No, this is, let's see. Towards the 5-year-old boy. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, none of my buttons are working over here. Something happened, and all I can do is play and mute this thing. That's it. Not sure what happened.
The deep-seated structural forms of injustice to white people that white people have done to black people, and yet to claim some kind of moral superiority. In the midst of, and again, in the context of a conversation where a white woman is calling a 5-year-old autistic child the N-word, and we're talking about black people's bad behavior, this is absurd. And the idea of fighting fire with fire, again, is a dishonest argument. Just to take us back to the point here. The people who are supporting Carmelo Anthony's campaign believe that he was wrongfully charged, and they're trying to get him legal defense. The people who are defending this woman are saying, yes, we know you called the 5-year-old autistic black child the N-word, and we want more of it. We approve of it. We support it. These are not the same thing. And it's
nobody said that. Nobody said that, dude.
No one said that. What they said is, oh, there's probably going to be a legal problem with this.
Shiloh Hendricks. That's her name.
Right, there it is. Boom. Because you're a boss, queen.
It's wrong to call a 5-year-old autistic black child the N-word. I mean, Mike, let me just ask you that question. I think this is a yes or no question.
But if he wasn't autistic, it would be cool. Is that your point, Mark? Wait, what? Autistic? Isn't it wrong to call anybody that word, Mark? If that word is as unspeakable as you want to pretend it is, isn't it wrong to call anyone that word? Why does it make it worse if it's a 5-year-old black autistic child? And, you know, if we're being technical, the child looked way the hell closer to 10, and we have no idea if he's autistic or not. And why is a Somalian child sex offender sitting in a park with a camera anyway? Nobody wants to ask that question.
I mean, it's just so flagrantly flaky, you know. It's just so. No, man, I don't know what to make of all of it.
You know what? Well, I think ultimately the fact that Shiloh Hendricks has started a GoFundMe and there's, I don't know, upwards of $1 million in it now. I think more than anything, it is a reaction. It is a manifestation of people's outrage about the Austin Metcalf case, where a kid got stabbed in the heart and the murderer is being portrayed as the victim, and he got a brand new house and car out of the deal. A lot of people are really bothered by that. They know they can't say why they're bothered by it because, of course, they will be canceled and lose their jobs and their homes and their livelihoods, because that's what happens in these cases always. So the best way they have to fight back is by sending this woman a few bucks. Not because they approve necessarily of what she said, but just to illustrate the outrageousness of the way these things always go. Because is it really offensive, the way she spoke to the kid? Yes, of course. Obviously it is. But does that warrant having her life ruined, receiving death threats, having to go into hiding, having to leave town? No, it doesn't. People want her kids to be taken away? I mean, are you kidding me? Because she said a word.
No, that's been the whole issue for the past, 15 years, is the weaponization of words against the populace itself. The population itself is utilizing its own psyop, using language to incriminate everyone with no criminal laws being passed. Everybody gets the same treatment unless you're on the other side, right?
Yes, so, go ahead.
If you're on the left and you say some really outlandish stuff, it gets buried. If you're on the right and you say something slightly racy, suddenly they're all over you. You're everywhere.
Yeah, and the woke rage mob is coming after you, and your life is going to be ruined, and nothing will ever be the same for you again. And they're gonna SWAT your house. They're gonna drive you out of town. They're gonna get your kids taken away. Every single bad thing they can do to you, simply for uttering a 2-syllable word, they will do. And they think they are totally morally in the right for doing it. They think saying a certain word is actually the equivalent of violent physical acts or criminal acts. They really think that. They even think saying a certain word is justifiable cause for a person to be harmed or killed. And that's madness. All decent people have to fight against concepts like that.
Right. I refuse to live in a world where Charlie Manson was right. No matter how much these weird race hucksters want us to live in that world, I won't do it. I judge people on their merit and their character and nothing else.
And they really, really do want us to live in that world quite desperately.
Sometimes on their shoes, but then again, I'm a weirdo. But yeah, no, this is not balkanization. This isn't a normal thing that's happening in the U.S. This looks more like a manipulation or a psyop than it does any natural or native type of balkanization that could have taken place, especially in just like the last 6-8 years.
Yes, and most importantly, it keeps us from talking about real things, because it turns us into the proverbial kitten chasing the laser pointer, because fake racism is sometimes the only thing we want to talk about. Sometimes it's the only thing people on both sides want to talk about because they think it is an easy way to sound morally virtuous.
Facts.
That child in that park. I don't approve of that, but what I will say is that it's very important to understand the entire context of what led us to this position, because again, Metcalf and Hendricks is a microcosm of a much larger problem. Earlier, we were talking about tribalism when you were mentioning Nick Fuentes' tweet. Here's the thing.
Shut up, dude.
Black
Nobody cares.
Let me finish this. People get together and say, white power gather together. They're considered white supremacists, and they get banned off every single platform. Why is that Jared Taylor and Nick Fuentes are banned off every platform for practicing white nationalism, but black people are allowed to stand every single platform getting interviews on the Breakfast Club? Explain that to me. There's a 2-tier situation here where black people are able to benefit off of being racist while whites are not. And what we're dealing with right now in America is literally a backlash to this black supremacy has been able to run around unchecked for a long time, and no one has the balls to call it out. Here's the other thing I want to say. Everyone's flipping out over Shiloh Hendricks is saying the N-word.
Hey, can I about the point you just made, though?
Hold on. Nobody flipped out like this when the United States was getting destroyed in 2020 because of black protests destroying every liberal city in America. So I don't want to hear it about, she made $500,000 because she said the N-word. Who cares? They destroyed billions of dollars of structure because someone got killed who was a criminal. That's the problem in America. You guys get a privilege that no one else gets to enjoy. You can be racist.
Okay.
And
all right, I have to hang on. I've got to hold it there. We've got another guest joining us. Mark, I'll come back to you to respond to that in a moment. We're being joined now by Jacob Wells. He's the Christian founder of the Give, Send, Go donation site.
Do we care about what this guy has to say about it?
We do not.
All right. Boom,
he's just there to he's just there to cover his company's ass.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I mean, he looks like he's really into this I want to know what that is.
Yeah, we want to get to the big old meltdown.
As a platform.
Studies show that strength training burns more fat than cardio.
See, he looked way more excited about the commercial than he does about his actual show. That's wild. Yeah, get jacked up, y'all. Go ahead. This dude, total loser. Not interested. I hate this part. We're just gonna have to skip him entirely. Where's it at?
And how predictable was it that someone in the chat was going to call us both racist just for having this conversation?
That's Joe. That's his native language.
Yeah,
Let's go back to the panel there. I mean, a lot of inconsistencies in Mr. Wells' position, not least the donning of the Christian hat when it suits them, but then removing it when it doesn't.
I think it's definitely tough to make the call here and there and where to censor. I err on the side of not censoring as much as possible, but I agree with you that the selectivity of having issues with abortion, but not with these campaigns is certainly a problem. But I also want to go back to our point before too and make the point that I hate this argument that because some people were tribal, we should be tribal too. And shouldn't we want to live in a society where we say tribalism is in general, and so therefore we should be erring towards individualism and not fighting tribalism with more tribalism? I think that's a net negative.
I agree. Myron, you're...
Hold on. Wait a second. Wait a minute. Did she just say we have to fight tribalism with non-tribalism?
I'm not exactly sure what point she was attempting to make. I was kind of trying to follow it myself, and I don't think I had any better luck than you did.
Okay, let me try that again.
Well, last words on.
Well, I maybe her point was that we shouldn't respond to tribalism with more tribalism, in which case I absolutely agree with her.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, come get me, Joe. I'm waiting for you. How's your wife and my kids? Don't mess with me.
Tribalism is bad in general and negative in general, and so therefore we should be erring towards individualism and not fighting tribalism with more tribalism. I think that's a net negative.
I agree. Myron, your last words on this.
Yeah, that's what.
How could he agree if he didn't even give it a split second to think about it?
Yeah, he sure did agree quickly, didn't he?
That was like they had discussed it before. Am I crazy, or is that just me?
There's a lot of things about Piers Morgan that really annoy me, especially when he tries to have insights into American society and culture that he simply does not have. But if there is anything he's good at, he's good at making compelling television. Putting panels together who are likely to blow up in noxious outrage at one another in a 50 megaton nuclear bomb of hatred. And look at Mark Lamont Hill. He's just getting ready to blow, man. You can see the steam coming out of his ears already.
He's mad. He's mad that he was specifically brought on this program so he could freak out real good. And every time he's tried to work up a good head of steam, Mr. Fresh and Fit over here just caps him.
Well, I think he's unaccustomed to being on a panel without any of his own fellow travelers on it. So he's not getting the reflexive agreement and affirmation that he is accustomed normally to getting, and it's obviously upsetting him.
Absolutely, I think so.
Okay. The thing with tribalism, it's a natural human instinct. Like, we are literally designed to want to be in communities and want to be a part of a set community because it ensures our survival. It's been that way since the beginning of time. So the thing is that people are typically going to align with people that share similar features. And that's why we have the tribalism we have going on right now. So the problem
She knows she has lost this whole conversation, and he has taken it. She's just letting this happen because it's like watching a freaking road act.
I know the girl who's
running all over.
The blonde girl looks like she just wants another crack at this so she can run her mouth some more, and the other girl just looks completely bewildered, like she wants the whole thing to end.
I do not.
And look at Mark Lamont Hill. That steam's still building. He's just waiting to blow his top. Oh, it's so great when he starts really he starts gyrating with rage so hard it actually shakes his camera like there's an earthquake happening in his house. It's freaking great.
And it's just him pitching a 4-year-old fit. Let's do it.
Yes.
Going to go anywhere. I think the problem is that we've had this penting up for literally decades, and this has been a response to it. You have people that are coming out and supporting someone who you guys might deem as a terrible racist, but I think it's also very important to understand how we got here, because if we're going to look at the smaller problem, we can't look at the bigger problem. It's what I said before, unchecked systemic.
All right, Mark Lamont Hill, your last words on this.
This repeated use of the word, I think, first of all, I want to just register that as offensive. Particularly someone who doesn't identify as a member of that community and who is not, right? I think that's incredibly offensive.
Did you see that reaction? Hold up. That was beautiful, bro. Oh my God. Okay. So he's going to establish his foundation on the offensive-ness of a given word. Then he's going to say the word, and he can do that because he's black, but they mute it.
Here comes the genius of Pierce Morgan. I mean, genius in the Jerry Springer kind of sense. He knows this segment is about to end, and he hasn't gotten the explosion of unvarnished rage that he's trying to get. So he's going to jump back into the blonde lady and try and bait her into saying the word, and she's not even going to say it, but it still is going to result in Mark Lamont Hill having the explosion of outrage that he was looking for.
Absolutely. I can see it building.
Identify as a member of that community who is not, right? I think that's incredibly...
I'm the definition of African American. I'm the definition of African American.
And troublesome, and to as a Sudanese American or an outsider who's using African American in a very technical term, the same way that Elon Musk is an African American, I think it is a bit disingenuous. But the bigger issue here, I think, is that this idea of...
Hold on, wait, we're cherry picking.
So, God, what I didn't hear that the first time I watched it. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard a grown man say. So, a Sudanese American is not an African American in the same sense that Elon Musk is an African American. Excuse me? like how?
Dude, I got nothing.
Elon Musk is more... Dude, Elon Musk is more African American than you are because he was actually born in Africa. You were not. What the hell words are coming out of your face hole right now, you stupid, stupid man?
One side or the other side often loses track of this issue of power. To use as example, when black people stand up and say, hey, let's build our own stuff. Hey, let's have a black power movement. That is not the same as a white power. I'll let you speak uninterrupted. Let me finish, please. My Sudanese brother. So when a black person says, hey, let's preserve our culture, I have no problem with Italians or Irish people or anyone else saying let's preserve our culture. But when we don't talk about ethnicity, but actual race, and when white people say let's preserve whiteness, it's an exclusionary practice. It's about preserving laws and practices and tactics that do harm to other people. A black power movement was about opening stores and building businesses. A white power movement was a white power. That's the giga. A white power movement was about something very, 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 very different. A white power movement included lynchings and included Ku Klux Klan, etc. So let's not pretend that these are opposite sides of the same coin. White people say, let's save our country, even using language of our country. When black people built this thing, when you say that, you're talking about forcing people out of the country. You're talking about laws that discriminate. You're talking about doing harm to people. Let's not pretend these are the same thing. Just like these GoFundMe campaigns are not the same thing. I'm okay if everybody gets out of the GoFundMe industrial complex. I'd love that. But let's not pretend that supporting someone for a fair trial is the same thing as supporting a grown white woman berating and calling the N-word to a 5-year-old autistic black child. And the fact that everyone in here can't be unanimous in
Again,
that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm going to go to Lily Gadd.
He's so hung up on the 5-year-old black autistic thing. Like he thinks those adjectives bolster his point of view somehow, and they just make him sound like a dumbass.
He's so caught up on his own linguistic.
Well, and
he's so caught up on his.
Not to mention the fact that, worst of all, this man is drawing a direct moral equivalence between saying a word and stabbing a person fatally in the heart. He just did that.
Okay. So, hold on. I want to back up and get a grip on part of this. He's also saying that the concept behind a Black Power movement is substantively different than a white power movement. And I do not agree with that on its surface, but when you get down to the brass tacks of the things that have occurred in history associated with the two concepts, there is a difference. I mean, there's a bona fide history in one of these sectors. There's no history to associate with the other. Although,
except perhaps with the Black Panthers, the worst of the Black Panthers back in the 60s and 70s, and the worst excesses of BLM at the start of this decade.
And people would say something about bad apples on that particular tree.
Of course, yeah, they would.
Whatever. Okay, sure, whatever. It's bad apples in the other tree too, but I say we kind of both want to be Americans. We can do this, right?
That gets my vote.
Amen, brother.
Gaddis, and just ask you one more time. I mean, you've been so unashamedly proud of being a racist today, proud of using them whenever you feel like it. You've had a bit of time to think about this. Is that how you want people to leave this panel debate? We're thinking of you as a disgusting racist?
I don't really care what people think about me. As long as you care about what people think about you, you have no power and you lose your country. What I care about is freedom of speech. And if you're not allowed to say the most offensive things in this country, you do not have freedom of speech. I don't care what anybody says. So that's the main crux of this situation. That's what I care about with this situation. It is, we have lived for far too long in a country where you can have your life destroyed. And people say, oh, she doesn't need this money. Her life's destroyed, by the way. She'll never be able to get another job. She's got children to have to support. And I don't want to live in a country where you can say an inappropriate, rude thing, which, by the way, Black people can say things to white people all the time and they never get canceled. There's no backlashing about this. I want to live in a country where people are allowed to say what they want unashamedly, and you will
go
not.
On, then say it. Say
you
the
will
M-
not.
Go on, say the M word. Go on.
Hang on.
No,
here it comes. To invite this woman to say the harmful term to me because I'm the only on here. So if she says it, I'm the victim of it. So please don't invite her for ratings to call me the N-word. That's basically what it's going to be. There's a bunch of white people up here. You and one Uncle Tom on the left here, and to ask her to say the N-word. Because you would not sit here with a Jewish person and say, please use a Jewish slur in front of the Jew. It's ridiculous. I understand you don't have any bad intent, Pierce. I understand what you're trying to do. But we don't know
I hear you.
And I don't want to invite a racial harm to me.
I hear you, and I accept that.
Bro.
Not even the saying of the word. Just the mere idea of the word being said sends him into a spasmodic rage.
It's like he loaded him up like a muzzle loader and pulled the trigger, bro. He was like, thunk, go ahead and say it.
Yeah. And he claims to have been harmed by the saying of the word when the word was never even uttered.
Actually,
that's how
he is the only one here that has actually said that word out loud on this podcast that I'm aware of.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, hypocrite? Wait, I don't own a hippo.
And we'll leave it there. Thank you all very much.
Bam.
Here's Morgan Uncensored.
So yeah, that's where we stand on that particular thing. Thoughts, queries, occurrences?
You know what else I dislike about Piers Morgan? He thinks Americans are not allowed to have opinions about cricket, and fuck him. He gets almost as upset as Mark Lamont Hill just did whenever an American tries to have an opinion about cricket. It sends him completely apoplectic, and it makes me want to go on his show and give him a cricket lecture.
Any chance we can get some footage of that, because that's worth at least 10 minutes on a bit.
Yeah, entertain the people. I'll find it.
Oh, really? I could just laugh maniacally for 3 minutes. That'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
We got to back up far enough to actually get into my list again. All right, we're not going to do the Mr. Reagan thing because that was a little off topic. I have pharmacist takes gas station pills and regrets everything. The most disrespectful Charleston white moments. Do we have a vote yet?
Sorry.
I have to apologize to everybody. I'm in the middle of a summer cold, and every time I start laughing, it triggers a coughing fit. And well, I can do this. I need more glitter.
You sound fantastic, brother, like late period Johnny Cash.
Man, the worse I feel, the better I sound. I don't get it. It makes no sense. So apparently the vote was the pharmacist guy so far, Charleston White. Yeah, he's hilarious to me. He's so offensive when he decides to be offensive, and he doesn't seem to be a really offensive guy just in general. It's that people ask him really stupid questions and he gives them really pointed responses, and then they act all offended. It's great.
I just dropped the link in the private chat. I think the bit we're looking for is in there.
Alrighty then.
But generally speaking, it is Piers Morgan talking about the sport of cricket with an American, which infuriates him right off the bat. So it's all pretty funny to watch.
Long as I got my Beretta, I'm down for whatever. So we go skadoosh and
match to Australia. I'm absolutely gutted about it, but despite that, I remain adamant that cricket is indisputably the greatest sport of them all. Many Australians will agree, especially tonight, but many of our viewers in the United States, well, they wouldn't agree. In fact, they think cricket is one of the most boring, confusing, and pointless sports ever invented. Here are some of our American friends.
Don't put words in my mouth, Piers.
Fine.
I don't know a damn thing about first time watching.
So the pitcher's trying to hit these, maybe?
Out there catching the ball with their hands. Is the ball soft? What just happened? What just happened? Off his leg, up in the air. He knows it's coming at him.
I think in the back big, they throw the ball like underhand. I think
this is the most complicated sport I ever seen, bro.
That's the key. We made it deliberately complicated. So we want to think about that. We're not stupid over here. So is cricket the greatest sport in the world, as I believe? Or are we Brits and Aussies and a few other countries just completely bonkers? To debate this, I'm joined by the Barstool Sports founder, Dave Portnoy, in the United States, and from Yorkshire, former England cricket player, umpire, coach, and living legend, David Bumble Lloyd. All right, Dave Portnoy, you obviously don't get cricket. That might be your problem, not ours, because cricket is the greatest sport ever invented.
Listen, Pierce, I thought there was a misprint on the sheet when they said what you were asking me to talk about. Cricket. I mean, I've seen 5 seconds of cricket my whole life. I'm not against cricket. I just don't care about cricket. I just heard the introduction you gave to the guy in the panel. I mean, if he was walking down the street and slapped me in the face, I'd have no idea who he was. I just don't know anything about cricket. I've seen the highlights. I know that you can play for like 3,000 hours straight. It seems interesting if you know what's going on, but it's not an American sport. It's our version of baseball. But yeah, I don't care about cricket at all. You're not going to get me to trash cricket, but I don't know anything about it.
All right, David Lloyd, infuse the gentleman. Explain why he's so wrong to be so disinterested.
Piers, I'm not surprised that they don't get it in America. I really don't. And baseball's been mentioned, and that goes right above me. America, what is it, football they play when they're all, you can't tell anybody, they've all got hats on, they've all got shoulders on, and they throw it around. In fact, they bring the crowd in, they can have a go as well. But don't talk about cricket. It's the greatest sport there's ever been. I'm not surprised in the slightest. Look who's running the country.
Got a point. I mean, you've got
Hold on. Was that a shot at Trump?
This is from a couple years ago, so that's a shot at Biden.
Ooh.
I'll tell you what the point is. The point is
you have to argue. I don't care about cricket. No, cricket's here, there, nowhere. Again, I thought it was a misprint.
All right, let me try and explain to you. Let me try and explain to you why you should.
You guys are the ones who need the respect for cricket.
No, we're not after respect.
No one cares about cricket here.
We're explaining why you're wrong.
Well, then what is the point of this segment?
Well, I'm telling you the point of the segment. So get this little fact about cricket. Cricket matches were played by soldiers during the American Revolutionary War, with many games being played at the Valley Forge encampment. George Washington, I'm sure you've heard of him, also played at least one game there, with the sport referred to as wicket by Americans at the time. Not the first time you've taken our language and mangled it. So cricket was very much there at the start. What happened? Why did you move to baseball, which is so clearly an inferior
then that
sport?
speaks volumes about cricket being boring. If you're saying we had it all these years, we developed better sports. More. Well, I didn't know this around the corner, and it got me coming at cricket. I'll tell you one thing that is dumb. Can't the same.
All right. Hold on. You asked for an organic introduction of the term smarmalade in here. This right here. This is smarmalade.
Yep.
Right.
That is exactly that is the dictionary definition of smarmalade right there. You are correct, my friend.
Smarmalade.
But But do you want to know what the central futility is of this whole contrived argument that he's trying to promote here? You've got the baseball fan saying cricket is too complicated. You've got the cricket fan saying baseball is too complicated. Neither game is any more or less complicated than the other, and they have far, far more in common with each other than either side is willing to admit or to understand. And I wouldn't have understood that either until a couple years ago. But they are about 90% the same game when you get right down to it. I know that makes people recoil. They don't want to admit it. But it's a game where you hit a ball with a bat and you run and you score runs. That's 90% the same. The biggest difference between cricket and baseball is cricket has no foul territory. If you eliminate second base and third base and foul territory, it's the same game. I'm sorry.
You heard it first here, folks. Actually, probably not. I'm sure other people have said that, but you heard it first from Captain.
But not so elegantly.
All right, so I'm going to drop the link in chat. This will be a call-in part of the program. In the event that you wish to call in, you will not be on camera because we're not playing that type of game. Although you will be allowed to speak unless you say certain things. You know,
try to stump Cap on history.
Yeah, well, you can try to stump me on anything you like. Anyway, I kick back. I don't have a problem with it. I got. Is there more freak out from Mr. Morgan over here? Do I need to let that play for a minute, or can we?
I think it proceeds pretty much the same way. I mean, it's not an uninteresting conversation, I don't think, but it's just people butting heads who don't need to butt heads. Really, there's not that much disagreement as Piers Morgan wants there to be. It really is just ignorance bumping up against ignorance, because anybody who likes and appreciates baseball with investing the requisite amount of effort should be just as able to like and appreciate cricket. There's nothing mutually exclusive. You can like both. I like both. Sometimes I watch both in the same day. I'm still here. No problems. I mean, you can like both things. You don't have to like one or the other, just like you don't have to choose between our gridiron football and their association football. You can like both things. There's something to like in all sports. Well, except curling, but you get the point.
Curling.
Is that Lizzo?
Actually, I don't think it is. I'm not sure, but we're gonna let this kick out while we wait for somebody to jump in and hate both of us.
Or is it Lizzo's skinny younger sister?
It's probably Lizzo's skinny younger sister. and it's not lost on me that the caption that's at the bottom, the very first caption that pops up in this video is that you would feed me. Come out this man's mouth. Here we go.
Salad.
Salad.
Hey, Charleston, man, I just want to say, keep Vaughn's name out your mouth.
You say keep Vaughn's name out my mouth? Vaughn, nigga. Fuck Vaughn. Vaughn. And hey, listen to this. And his mama too.
From the time Charleston White called up a reservation to the time he completely went off on an interviewer and pulled a strap on him. These are the most disrespectful Charleston White moments where he completely crashed out. Starting off with the time a goon tried pressing Charleston on live for dissing King Von. Charleston White is mostly known for being against gangster rappers and gangbanging in general. So for Charleston, the death of notorious Chicago rapper King Von in 2020 was a huge cause for celebration.
But you feeling me out, and I'm telling you I'm in character. You nigga. And fuck your hood in Chicago and everything King Von stand for. Stop on his head, King Von.
Von gone.
Damn.
No more. It's over with for Von. He ain't no more.
No, he a savage.
He is in hell where he belongs.
Hell. He in hell.
Videos of him dissing Von and disrespecting his memory, Charleston naturally started getting threats from O-Block members. But clearly, threats from gang members don't faze Charleston because he had this to say in response.
King Von, you bitch ass ain't gonna do nothing. Y'all ain't done nothing with Timmy. Get out, King Von right now. Piss on his grave. Shit in them. King Von. That nigga was a killer, and that nigga killed black people.
One of King Von's associates even hopped on live with Charleston, asking him to apologize right then and there if he didn't want the dude pulling up on his location. Since the dude,
this makes me want to do a Black George Washington reaction video.
No, I already know where you at right now.
Wait, hold on. We've got what, 10 minutes? You want to get some?
No.
All right.
Black George Washington needs about a half hour's notice before he appears.
Got to go get some of that chloroseptic.
Yeah, you are not kidding in the slightest.
It's like me doing my Alex Jones. It takes a little prep.
Yep. Return of the fucking frogs, gay.
I'm gonna give you 2 seconds, 10 seconds.
Charleston simply called the dude's bluff and started the countdown himself, daring the dude to pull up like he said he would.
You scared now? Don't look. 1. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hold up. Homie, you were in your house. Homie, in a car. You in your house. How you gonna pull up? 10 seconds? My left testicle.
Vaughn all over again.
Okay. I'm glad you feel that way. Okay.
King Von Mama all over again.
Oh, okay, Mama too.
Boy, I thought you said you were coming around the corner. Nigga.
I think we're gonna need Barbara Billingsley to come do a translation here.
Right? Oh God.
You done lied to me already. I hate
It's all right. She speaks jive.
Anyone who wanted to holler at him.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna need somebody who speaks jive because I'm lost.
But 25 minutes in, a dude calls in telling Charleston to stop speaking on Vaughn and threatening to pull up on Charleston if he didn't listen.
Hey, Charleston, man, I just want to say, keep Vaughn name out your mouth.
You say keep Vaughn name out my mouth?
I've already seen no.
That's the dude his
pull up, text.
Call up one of their goons in the area since he
screw
wasn't
that.
trying to pull up himself.
They got on and fuck his sister and the kids too.
If you know anything about Charleston, you know he doesn't think twice about going off on anyone. And apparently even the kids of his rivals aren't safe, as seen in his recent beef with the Island Boys. It all started when one of the Island Boys, Fly Soldier, posted a photo of his baby on the internet. Seeing the photo, Charleston couldn't help himself and reposted it on Instagram, making fun of the baby's looks and calling it
Blue Unicorn shoots and scores.
in reference to the Island
Right.
We started leading to him and Fly Soldier being scheduled for a boxing match set up by Aiden Ross. But before the match, Aiden wanted to get them to settle, so he got the Island Boys on his
Oh, now I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about Airplane.
Yeah, I know. That whole line of people smacking that.
Oh! That reminds me. I have a story. Just the other day, I managed to organically work in an airplane line in a comment conversation. It was about, we were on the topic of Stacey Abrams and her invisible $2 billion worth of refrigerators, and so I commented just briefly outlining the facts of the story, and somebody replies saying, and the only thing the comment says is, refrigerators? Question mark, question mark, question mark. And what do I reply? I reply, yes, it's a big box-shaped device in your kitchen that keeps food cold, but that's not important now.
It's so stupid. Great. That's so good. Oh, it's so sweet.
stream and called up Charleston so they could talk it out. And Fly Soldier was trying to keep things cool. But when Charleston mentioned his baby again, he lost it.
Let's keep it all, like, you feel me, cordial, professional until we get in that ring.
Look at him.
Okay?
He didn't even blink in
Okay? It's fun. It's okay. It's cool. I'm not going to make fun of him because I'm going to keep it professional with you.
I'm going to make fun of you and your baby.
Hey, bitch, I'll tell you this right now.
Savage.
Eating headline, bitch. Shut the f up. You want to be a young so bad. You're mad because you're going to get your ass beat. You're going to get your ass beat.
Later on, Charleston
That's a lot of fake news, dude.
His child by the baby's own
Yeah.
mother, because after the other Island Boy, Kodiak Red, lost the boxing match, Charleston, who was also at the event, was being interviewed when Fly Soldier's baby mama walked up to press Charleston about the things he said about her baby.
Watching that boy get beat up like that and cry with them tears coming down his face after the fight, and then him and his brother getting dragged up there like little bitty boy up out the show.
And you talk about our child, ass beat, huh? Yeah, you talk about our child.
Little bitty boy.
Hold up, look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, I got Shorty over here all up in arms. Oh no, what are we going to do? He's like, this is going to go viral. No money.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking right now. You're not wrong.
She got a shit-eating grin on her face too. She knows it too. And I did not feel the earthquake this morning. What time do we know?
God damn. I thought that was Drewski walking by.
Charleston took the mic and immediately doubled down on his comments about the baby.
The baby's still ugly. I don't give a damn what she said. Yeah, don't tell me what that baby looks like. Just hopefully the baby. What is that?
Man.
So savage. Savage. Oh boy.
Calling babies ugly is pretty cold.
The situation was, it wasn't the only time Charleston White went after a rapper's kid, and this time he even snitched on the rapper right after. After Von's demise, Chicago rapper King Yella, who was affiliated with the Gangster Disciple Chicago gang, also had his bit to say on Charleston dissing King Von. In response, Charleston didn't just go after Yella, but also took shots at Yella's 3-year-old daughter while he was at it.
My wife was talking about King Yella. She said, why he rocking like that in that corner with all that scribbly stuff on his face? I said, that's a dope fiend, baby. His mama was a crack. That wasn't an institution.
Why he rocking back and forth with all them scribbles on his face? Man, that sums it all up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like he was an institution. Yeah. King Yella, baby. He old Yella with a bunch of scribbly scrapping on his face, and he got an ugly daughter. Yeah, he got an ugly yellow daughter.
Involving their kids in beef isn't
ugly yellow daughter.
And Yella responded.
Man, that's
threatening. Yella also returned the favor and took shots at Charleston's wife.
Your bitch ass play with my children.
And he got a stutter? That's not good.
Maybe if you live in a house made of face tattoos, don't throw stones that much.
Hold on. I do got to say, this man spent some money on some actual teeth.
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
if your face if your face looks like that, I'm sorry, but you forfeit the right to call any other human being ugly.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
What you talking about, a 3-year-old child, though? You goofy mark ass clown. You and your ugly ass dog rat looking ass wife. Because if I find out where you're gonna be at, my mama, my kids, I'm gonna tell your bitch ass.
let's skip the DOS.
Why she talking to me? I'll smack that bitch too.
Now, most of us know that speaking on someone's kids should be off limits, but Charleston had his own justification for saying what he did, explaining that no one has a problem when kids get hurt by the actions of gangbangers, but people have a problem with him calling a kid ugly.
How can people be so offended by me calling his living daughter, who didn't hear me say a living bitch, a ugly little bitch, but they so okay with Tuka being disrespected? Tuka was a kid. There was a 1-month-old baby shot in the head in Chicago. How can we be so offended by a motherfucker saying that ugly little bitch, but we watch kids die by the hand of these gangbangers year after year?
No, there's a fantastic moral equivalency right there. I'd mind like a steel trap, this guy.
But I mean, okay.
So you got the song queued up? You want me to do like a 20-second talk out, and then we'll cue the song because that'll get us right to the end time.
I'll grab that.
Okay, so I'll start the talk out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever... What? Should I just go? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, 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 very much indeed for watching the Blast Radius tonight. Are you still mumbling in the background? Are you stealing my flow?
We have lag, bro. We have some serious lag happening. Just let me finish talking and then start your outro, and I got you.
Okay, you finish talking. Oh, it's my turn? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius tonight. We sure do appreciate it when you join us and make us a little part of your Sunday evening. Again, the happiest of Mother's Day to all the mothers in the world. Thank you again for putting up with us so heroically and so admirably for so long. Watch my stuff this week. Watch his stuff this week. More importantly, watch my brand new song right now. Help me get it to go viral. I need the damn money. We'll see you next time. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.
All right, so at this point, I'm just going to bring myself up because you did an excellent talk out. I'm almost there because I suck at this whole thing. I forgot about the song. My bad. Let's see. Boy, you've been dumping stuff out a bunch here. Really, here we go.
There it is.
Yes, sir. Let's give it the big screen.
I'm Christine Holm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security.
Is that it? That is it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Making sure everything right. Okie dokie pokies. Thank you for coming. Listen to this trash.
I'm Christine Holm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Under President Trump, attempted illegal border crossings are at the lowest levels ever recorded, and over 100,000 illegal aliens have been arrested. If you are here illegally, you're next. You will be fined nearly $1,000 a day, imprisoned, and deported. You will never return. Do what's right. Leave now.
Almost heaven, West Oaxaca, Sierra Madre Mountain, Tepan, Tepe.
I ruined it. I forgot to
Yeah.
turn it back down to the speed. I'm sorry. I apologize.
all right.
That's the problem with running like this.
He's great there, greater than it seems. They're eating empanadas and speaking mixtequis. Drop me roll, take me home to the place I belong. With the hoodla that will suit ya. Take me home, drop me roll. I hear his voice, so the orangeman he calls me. His federales tell me that I'm going home today. I'm hot-tied in the van, I get a feeling should have self-devoted yesterday. Yesterday, hey, in my memories, Guatemala, Criollo, ye vaquero's daughter, steamy jungle, blocking out the sky, taste of Quetzalteca, burning in my eyes, grumpy road, take me home to the place I belong. Guatemala, jungle mama, take me home, grumpy road. I hear his voice, oh the orange man he calls me. His federales tell me that I'm going home today. I'm hog-tied in the van, I get the feeling should have self-deported yesterday. Yesterday, El Paraíso, West Virginia, las montañas azul, Río Shenandoah, vida vieja ahí, viejo arbolís, joven que las montañas creciendo como bris, grumpy road, take me home to the place I belong. Costa Rica, with my chica, take me home, Trumpy road, take me home, Trumpy road, take me home, Trumpy road.
And remember, I love each and every one of you like a brother and a sister.